to In the Stacks at the Land O'Lakes Library. I'm Ashley.
I'm Marina.
And on this episode, we're actually going to be talking about some new young adult novels that have come into the library.
Yeah, we have so much coming in lately. So we've had these for a little bit, and we definitely have like newer titles too, but these are kind of some that we read about and we're like, let's highlight this.
Mm-hmm.
So the first book we wanted to highlight is This Is How We Fly. Honestly, when I saw this and I saw the cover, I was like, what? This looks interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what they're holding. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you look at this and you're like, that looks like a Quidditch match. So, yeah. So, this is a nice contemporary book. On Goodreads, it does say if you're a fan of Dumplin' or Fangirl, two books I've read and honestly are really good. This could be the book for you. It's called This Is How We Fly by Meriano. Also, if we pronounce authors' names wrong, I'm sorry. So it's about a girl named Ellen who ends up she just graduated. It's the summer between graduation and going to college. And she just got grounded. I'm not really sure why. I haven't read this one yet. But her stepmom ends up grounding her. And it's kind of like a Cinderella type story, like an evil stepmom type situation. And so she ends up not being able to see her two best friends. However, her parents do allow her to join this local all-gender Quidditch team, which makes no sense to me.
I didn't know it was a thing, but it really is.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, if that's really a thing, do we have that in Florida, and can we find it?
I'm pretty sure that I don't know if it's in Florida, but people do have like a Quidditch, like a form of Quidditch. Yeah.
Like land Quidditch.
Yes. No flying, unfortunately.
Unless you have those capabilities, then that's really cool. So her parents allow her to join the Muggle team, maybe to get her out of the house or something for summer, but she's still super restricted because she's grounded. But I think it's good for her because, she gets to meet new people who straight up geek out over Harry Potter, which is always fun. And learns about like new people, new experiences, I think it helps her get out of her shell.
Yeah.
But she does face a lot of challenges, with her relationship with her parents, especially her stepmom. And then she goes through a little something like with her friends, because when you're in high school and you grow up, you change, and you go to college, things change, especially if you go to different schools from your friends. Right. So, she gets a little distance from her friends, which is kind of sad. And, they want to experience different things, and they want to her friends want to branch out to other things too. So, I feel like this book is good to teach you about like friendships and what happened, like how your friendships can change as you grow up.
Right.
So I feel like this would be like a nice, fun read.
Coming of age.
I like that, coming of age. Yeah. So I feel like this would be a fun book.
It does sound like it. Anything with Harry Potter, I feel like.
Honestly, yeah. If you want to nerd out over some Muggle Quidditch,
there you go. That's the book.
This is the book for you. So that's one of our newer books.
All right, and I am going to highlight our next one, which is called Running by Natalia Sylvester. Again, this is a book that we have not read, but we kind of looked into it, and seems to be like an interesting read. This one is actually about the main character, Meriano. Her father is running for president, and they're doing like a campaign actually in like South Florida.
That's cool.
And they are a Cuban American family too, so it just seems very, I don't know, local. I don't know how to
like local for if you live in Florida,
right? Like it just seems like you're like, oh yeah, South Florida, Miami. That's where my husband's from. He's Cuban, so it just kind of like, oh yeah, I can see that. But as with any, I don't know if anyone has ever watched, campaigns before, but there's always scandal. There is always tabloids. There's always a story with it. And Mari, she is having to be put in the spotlight over it. And I think it kind of goes into, there are things that her father, his political views or his beliefs turn out to be different than hers. And it's kind of like a decision, like, does she just go along with it so she doesn't, hurt her father's chance of becoming president, or does she speak up for herself and her beliefs? So it's kind of like one of those stories on standing up for what you believe in.
Yeah.
So
especially against family.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially like with everyone watching too.
Oh,
I could
yeah.
see it being more of a more intense read. So if people are kind of interested in that, but I'm not sure if there's like any romance or anything like that, but it's just kind of something just to think about too.
Yeah. I bet you learn a lot about like what campaigning in there. Yeah. So that'd be cool too.
Like the different stuff that they have to do. Yeah. So it seemed very interesting. So
yeah.
All right.
So the next one we have kind of different kind of story. It's like I like to categorize it as like a historical fiction fantasy. So it takes place, it's called Broken Wish by Julie C. Dow. Again, sorry if we mispronounced the names. And I think it's gonna be a series. So this is the first. Nice. I think it's called the Mirror series. So this will be the first book to it. And so so why I say it's like a historical fiction fantasy is because it takes place in Germany in 1865. Yeah,
like some Brothers Grimm vibes.
Yeah, because honestly, reading the description, it kind of gives me, I don't know why, it just gives me some like Hansel Gretel type vibes. So it's about a witch named Elva who hides her magic from the village she lives in because they don't believe in that magic, and they think it's like, if you say you have powers that, you're associated with the devil type situation.
Right. Like Salem.
Yeah, like Salem, honestly. And there's this witch, this really powerful witch who like lives like deep into the woods, and they call her the Witch of the North Woods. Something around that lines.
Yeah.
And the villages are like plotting against her, and so Elva, she has like these special powers where like she can kind of like see into the future, and she sees this, like, she gets this vision where she's like, something bad is gonna happen. The synopsis doesn't really give you a lot like to know what's gonna happen, but like sparks enough interest to be like, so what's her vision? Like, what did she see and how bad is it for her to want to like go find this witch and possibly expose herself to the villagers and tell them like, I actually am a witch too. Like they could go after her. So, so she goes and she finds this witch and she tries to help her, and like I guess like they work together, but because the Witch of the North Woods plays by different rules, Elva kind of faces like the path of going down the right path or the wrong path, because she doesn't want to hurt innocent people, but also, she doesn't want the villagers to attack this witch or attack her because like they're kind of her people.
Right.
So, seems pretty interesting. I feel like you get a little bit like, I feel like you get some history, but you also get that fantasy,
It's like a fairy tale vibe almost, but dark, like dark fairy tale.
Like you said, straight Brothers
like,
Grimm
it's
type
right
story.
When you said Germany 1865, I'm like, that's like Brothers Grimm there.
Yeah, I feel like there's gonna be some kind of darkness in here, but like in a good way. So if you're looking for a nice fantasy, this would be a good one. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so here is my next one. We're completely switching gears.
Yeah.
So, I hate to say historical fiction, but this is kind of.
I feel it's historical in a way. Yeah.
But this is called "Gimme Everything You've Got" by Iva-Marie Palmer, and it is. I say it's historical fiction because it is based in 1979. So I will forewarn you that this one may have some explicit content in it, because the main character, Susan, who is, I believe, a junior in high school, tries out for her school's like first ever all-female soccer team.
Oh, really?
And,
Oh, that's cool.
and sorry.
No, I really didn't know that. I genuinely didn't know that.
Well, she does it because of her coach.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby McMahon, who is, of course, older than her and off limits, but she is gonna go for it anyway.
Forbidden love.
Yeah, pretty much. It is very forbidden love, but I think it kind of is more, it's during a time where like female sports is becoming a thing. So I know like it's hard to see it here because we have girls basketball teams and soccer teams and all of that. And in the 70s, it was just coming on to the, I kind of know how to say it. Like it was just coming onto the scene. There we go.
Yeah.
Just coming onto the scene. So Susan ends up finding out that she actually really likes soccer. Like she was doing it for love or lust reasons, but she ends up really liking it. I feel like there are going to be a lot of like love and life lessons that goes into this. But it just seems like a very interesting, I like coming across these books because you don't really see a lot of these kinds of stories. Like I feel like the 70s are really not covered in YA that much.
I agree. Like, so I think this is, other than like historical fiction, I mean, I've read a book in the 80s, like Eleanor and Park takes place in the 80s.
Yeah, like 80s or you dabble with. 90s, but 70s, it was just very, like it was kind of, it really stopped me when I was like, oh, this is like late 70s, but definitely something that just really doesn't get covered in YA as much. So it sounded very interesting. Might have a little bit of love in it. So if you're looking for forbidden love or love triangles, this is a book for you.
Yeah. But scandal. I
was about to say,
scandal.
I'm sure there's going to be some juicy bits in here about that. So,
the next book is We Were Restless Things by Cole Nagamastsu. Again, sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
We try.
Yeah, we really do. So this is another debut novel for this author. It's like a thriller mystery. But also when I was reading the description, I also felt like there was a little fantasy in it because something seems not realistic.
I felt that too.
Yeah. So this book is a mystery of itself. So it's about this kid named Link Miller who ended up drowning miles away from the closest body of water. So that's suspect. So his best friend ends up getting a message like a year later, because honestly, she and her closest friends and his family never really accepted his death because it was so weird.
Why would you?
It was like, how do you drown when you're miles away from the lake?
Yeah,
you know,
the body was. But
yeah,
it just doesn't. They just don't even say that. Like,
right. It does make you think the body is moved.
Yeah,
but it's weird because then the synopsis goes on.
We're getting excited about this. One is one of our. We need to read one. One of us will eventually read this one.
Honestly, like all these books we need to read. Yeah. We get excited over new books just as much as anybody.
Sweet.
So she gets these messages from him. Like this person is claiming to be her friend Link from the dead, warning her to be careful, don't go in the woods, don't go near the lake because there's just something bad in there. So she ends up with two of her friends, like researching this, investigating this, seeing like what's going on. Is this actually her friend or is this someone playing some kind of game? So that's really like the mystery of it. Like, how did he really die? And like, who is this person reaching out? the structure of the book is also pretty interesting. So it takes place throughout a year, and it's in 3 different POVs.
Okay. I
And
wondered if it was going to be like that.
yeah, it like jumps around from her and then the 2 friends that are helping her investigate his death.
Okay.
Also, it includes like a dream journal that I believe is Link's. Like I believe so. Don't quote me on that though. So I feel like if it is his, it does give you a perspective of him and his mind, because and to see like what was going on before maybe. So this is gonna be an interesting one. I feel. So if you want a nice mystery thriller that's gonna make you think, I think this would be a good one.
Okay, so the last book that I'm going to talk about is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and this is their debut novel as well. So this book is about, it has a little bit of fantasy in it and like a contemporary setting in Los Angeles. So with Yadriel is our main character, and he is part of a family that has like these special like magical powers basically, that they can see and talk to spirits, and they actually, the Brujos, which are the male members of the family, they are able to help these spirits move on to the next world. So Yadriel, his predicament is he is wanting to be a Brujo, but he is transgender, and with his very traditionalist family, they have a hard time accepting that.
Yeah.
So what starts out is his he has a cousin that dies in the beginning of the book. It's in the summary. I'm sorry. Like he has a cousin that dies at the beginning of the book, and in order to prove himself a Brujo to his family, his goal is to find his cousin's spirit and help the spirit move on to the next world. So he goes to summon the spirit, and he ends up summoning Bad Boy Julian Diaz. They literally put Bad Boy in there.
Yeah.
Like Bad Boy Julian Diaz. So he has no idea how he died. Is not sure like if he was murdered. So it is about a story of Yadriel helping Julian and also trying to find his cousin's spirit as well, trying to find out how they both died, and trying to find a way to be able to move them on to the next world. So very fast-paced and action-packed, because it's like they're kind of in a time crunch to do this. So very interesting, because you learn a lot about Latinx culture and traditions throughout this book as well. Plus, it is, I don't know, it was a very quick read for me, but I really liked it. Mariana has had to hear me say how much I've obsessed over this book for the past few months.
I accept you.
Yes.
I accept it.
But it's very interesting. We do have this in our system as well. But this is one that I did read, and yes.
And I will read it eventually.
Eventually, it's on your list.
It's the very long list.
I don't know, as much as I've told you, you don't have to even read it.
But I want to read it. I have to read it.
Yeah.
I feel obligated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is
A good one. Yeah.
I'd recommend this book.
So this book we really wanted to highlight. It's called Concrete Rose. It just came out in January. We both just finished it. So it's by Angie Thomas, who wrote The Hate You Give and On the Come Up, 2 books I definitely suggest as well. Did you read those?
I read both of I read both of them.
Both of them? Yeah. So really good. I love the way Angie Thomas writes. She writes in a way that it's honestly easy to read, but she puts so much in it. Like, I have gotten emotional and have felt all the feelings that she wants you to feel in every single one of her books, because she really writes about hard topics that you don't honestly see a lot.
Right.
She writes, so this book is actually the prequel to The Hate You Give. It's about Star, if you read The Hate You Give, it's about a girl named Star. This is the book about her father. It's her father's story and how he was raised in the garden where they're from, and everything that he went through before her brother and her were born. And so it really shows what he struggled with and the paths of good and bad that he was like faced with, you know, because like when you live in the projects or the ghetto, you know, life is really hard. You're surrounded by gangs, and you're surrounded by a lot of poverty and addiction, and it becomes hard to, you know, find your to get out of it and find your way. You know, so he's faced with, you know, having a young child and having another one on the way and making money to support them, and you know, he feels like if he doesn't sell drugs, you know, I'm not going to be able to support my family. But luckily he's surrounded by a lot of good people who want the best for him. You know, there's a lot of good people in his community that have, you know, worked really hard to make their way in this world. You know, so he is shown another way of life, of how he can succeed and how he can provide for his family. So it's really interesting to read about his struggles and what he personally faces, like inside, you know, his personal struggles. I love the way, you know, she wrote it. So what did you think?
Oh, I loved it. I really I like backstories to books that I love. So The Hate You Give was like one of my favorite books, and being able to kind of go back to that world and see kind of like little Easter eggs throughout this book, it was just really exciting for me. I also liked that it was like a male character, a male Black character. It's very uncommon. Like it's usually we see a lot of female point of views in YA. So it was a really nice, like it was very refreshing to be inside like a teenage boy's mind.
17. He's a 17 teenage guy.
It was, I really enjoyed it. It just put a lot of things in perspective too.
Absolutely. So especially in this climate too. You know, you get to understand a little more. And
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I also love how Angie Thomas like puts like pop fiction culture, pop culture into it. Like she talks about like Tupac and Biggie, and like, you know, old school hip hop and Kobe.
I love Kobe.
Oh my god, she saw, like, you know, when I was reading this, it took me a second, I don't know why, to realize what time this was. It takes place in the 90s, because like, you know, he was talking to his friend and he was talking about how there's like this new upcoming player on the Lakers called Kobe, and I'm like, what? And then he talks about like it's only been 2 years since Tupac passed away, and I was like, what? And so and then it hit me.
I almost dropped the book when they were talking about the pagers. They had the pagers.
Oh my god, the pagers!
They were like, oh, I got a page.
See, you think that would have gotten would have registered, like, because they talk about that literally in the first few pages. Did not register.
The pager went off.
So it's really old school. I love it. I love it.
I wanted to circle back around on how you say that Angie Thomas, how she writes, you can like really feel emotion. And there was a part where he's speaking to Mr. Wyatt, who's like his mentor. And Maverick, I had to think what his name was for a second. Maverick, he just has gone through something very hard in his life, and Mr. Wyatt, like his words were like, it's okay to show emotion, it's okay to cry, the world has made you feel like we cannot show emotion and we cannot be we can, like, I almost want to cry over it.
I got
goosebumps.
Okay.
I was about to say, and it's okay. So I was just like, that was what I was like, almost crying over that, because you see that in the world today, and it's just cool to be able to relate to see like I said, this point of view was just so nice to be able to see through this lens.
Yeah, no, that's like a really good point. Like it does talk about how, like, you know, there's a stigma in the world that men are not allowed to show emotion,
Right.
and that Black men they have to be strong all the time,
Right.
but it's like, no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
You know, you can show that you are hurt. So that is actually a great point.
Right. Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts was when they were talking over that, and because like what you said, Maverick's just, it's what society had deemed him.
Yeah.
And he was like, every time he wanted to show emotion, you could like read his thoughts on like, I can't do this, I can't cry, I can't look weak. So
Exactly. So there's just so much in this
It
book.
really is,
like you really learn a lot, and that's why Angie Thomas is such a good author, because she brings up in all her books, she brings up these topics and these like controversial issues that are not discussed or are not like presented enough, and talks about them really well. So it's really great. We highly suggest this book.
10 out of 5 stars.
10 out of 5 stars.
10 out of 5 stars
honestly.
for this one.
Yeah. So, and what do you think? Do you think they should read this before The Hate You Give, or read The Hate You Give first and then read this?
It's hard because I'm someone who likes to go in order in like timeline wise. But I feel like you would enjoy this book more if you have read The Hate You Give first.
Yeah, I feel like you appreciate
appreciate it more. So I would say that for this book, I would start with The Hate You Give, so you could kind of see like how Maverick is introduced in that book, and kind of understand a little bit better when you get into his story.
Yeah, and how he, like, you know, where his morals came and where his values came from, of how he raised his children. So, but yeah, we have it. Put it on hold.
We do have it.
We have it.
Okay, I didn't know if it was on. If it was just still on order.
It's circulating.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed our little book haul of what we have new in the library. We honestly get new books almost every week. So if you enjoyed this and you want to know what's new, you could give us a call or, you know, comment on, you know, Instagram, Facebook, and we'll let you know what's new in here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And our catalog has a pretty good setup of what's new in the library, so you can also go there. So we really hope you enjoyed this.
All right, and this is another episode of In the Stacks at the Land O'Lakes Library. To find us on our social media platforms, we are Land O'Lakes Library on Facebook. For Instagram, our handle is at Land O'Lakes Library. And YouTube, it is Pasco County Libraries.
Yes. Yeah.
Always have to remember that county. And we hope to see you next time on In the Stacks.
Thanks for joining.
In the Stacks at
corny
the
like
Land
that?
O'Lakes Library. I'm Ashley. I'm Marina. And today...
Can that be in the bloopers?
You said peace out, and I go, A-Town.
I'm gonna be really sad. Oh, I'm like, what? Now I understand. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for not leaving me out in the cold.
I'm sorry. I was like, what is A-Town? No.
Okay. Restarting. Can't do this anymore.
My phone.
Just cut. Cut.